So listen, we gonna have a cultural renaissance. You understand me? It's gonna be beautiful. Christian brothers go be there. Muslim brothers go be there. You feel me? Our Moorish brothers go be there. They gonna tell me to stop saying the word black. I got y'all, brother. I got y'all. I got y'all. You feel me? I've been studying so much Moorish history. And it's funny, and that's another thing that I dislike about the whole religious gangbanging is because the Moorish history is such a great history, right? Mostly all of the rich kingdoms in our past. We talk about Mansa Musa. He was a Muslim that was on a pilgrimage to Mecca. Muslim man, right? And they built up a civilization where they had a council to where they was able to control the gold trade. He was a Muslim. Timbuktu, they was Muslims. A lot of time when we give reverence to the past, we start talking about Africa, we talking about Muslim kingdoms. What are we talking about here? We never mentioned that part. We talking about the Moors, these are Muslims. They didn't drink. They didn't smoke. You feel me? And they enlightened all of your intelligent geniuses. We just not going to talk about their faith at all. I'm just saying, like, you now understand why you weren't taught these things in school. Because they wanted to portray a certain narrative. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know that the slaves that came over here, a lot of them was Muslims, especially the ones coming from the Congo and things of that nature. A lot of them came over. You know what I mean? There was a lot of slaves, they came over as Muslims and they had to break them out of their religion so that they can make them better slaves. You know the reason why they kept religion out of classrooms, you understand me, is because, who was that? Was that George Washington or Thomas Jefferson? I want to get it right. But one of them was basically reading the Quran and, you know, learned that there's no compulsion in Islam. And his particular Quran is actually in the Library of Congress to this day. And that's when they were setting up that foundation like America, right? And the American Masons, right? They was taking knowledge from the Middle East and from Africa, from ancient Kemet, the Moors, etc. And this is why you see obelisk, you see sacred geometry, right, in America, because they were trying to figure out something that they can make distinct in America. But you also got to remember that America was ran by black Moors at a particular time when you see the Spaniard came over here. Because a lot of them, right, they took on Spanish names, but they were black men. But a lot of people don't know that. So you go to San Diego and you can see it. You go to San Jose and you can see it. But when you think of San Diego and San Jose, you don't think about dark-skinned men. But why is there sacred geometry and obelisk all over Washington? Because they was getting the knowledge from the brothers. And then the Irish was the ones who brought the Masons over. You understand me? And they blessed the first black Masonic Masons in America. But then the other white Masons were so jealous of that and so racist, they didn't validate their lodges. But a lot of that knowledge came out of there because the Masons were a part of the Christians and there was Muslims in the Masons because the entry fee was believing in God. But Elijah Muhammad always said the Masons were my sons. You understand me? Because he said that they didn't have the full 360 degrees of knowledge. They only had the 33. You gotta understand American history, man. It gets deep when we start talking about these things, but these are the people that's really running things. You know what I mean? The founding fathers, when you think about the founding fathers, a lot of people think about the first president, George Washington. He was not the first president. And this is not 19 Keys knowledge. This is not pseudo-intellectual knowledge. This is actually history. You go look at the history and be like, go type in your chat GPT and ask who were the 8 presidents before George Washington. I'm just going to give you a history. There was one that you can conclusively say was a president because before the Articles of Confederation was intact, there was an entire structure in America. And the reason I like to bring up this, I like to bring this up because America painted this story as if there was just this one founding moment of unity and all America was just started off this glory. But it's not real. America went through years of disagreement and trying to figure out how to unify under one order. They came under agreement under the Confederate. And the first nation to recognize America was a Muslim nation, Saudi Arabia. That's how America was able to get its international respect. And it's the oldest, longest lasting ally, right, that they have a treaty with in America. You can look up the Treaty of Friends. You can look up these things. They was learning from the Muslims in Morocco to set things up. It's a very interesting history. America was never a Christian nation. They took on a Christian identity because it was better to package as Christianity, because they couldn't package this as Masonry. It was better to sell to the people. So they created their own thing. So I don't even really look at it if it was Christianity that enslaved you. It was more so these white Masons that had their own corrupt deception, because that's not what the Ethiopian brothers was practicing. They was practicing tricknology and deception in their own evil religion, right? And they covered it up with Christianity. That's the difference. So I think the misunderstanding that a lot of people probably don't have is that when people talk about black people taking on white people's religion, we're not talking about the original form of it. Same thing when we talk about rappers that, hate their own people. Of course, original hip hop was not based on that. But you become the monster that Frankenstein made. You become what America's made. You understand me? That's why other pastors got to call out other pastors for being sellouts. Because they see and recognize it too. That's all. Just because a Muslim call it out, this one call it out. And yes, in the early days, we was all just disrespectful to each other. I think now we got to be at some point of understanding in our journey of enlightenment. You understand me? To where we have the ability to appreciate and respect each other and love and move forward. I had my brother D1 on tour, and somebody was talking to my brother Mechi. It was like, people be surprised when you post them. I'd be like, why? Because I never think about it twice. It's like, you think that I'm biased against folks that's doing good? That's crazy. We be loving Jay-Z. Jay-Z call himself Hove, Jehovah. You know what I'm saying? Some of our people Jehovah Witnesses. You feel me? Some of them are Catholics. Now, Catholics, I'm be honest with you, I don't understand the Catholics. Now, you Catholics, I don't understand the Catholics. Not gonna lie. I got beef with the Catholics. I don't understand Catholicism. Mostly because I'm like, I don't know how you could represent that. They the whole reason that the brothers was enslaved in the first place. The Catholic Church is the most violent, abhorrent, evil organization on the face of this planet Earth. I don't understand the Catholic. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want to talk about R. Kelly. Come on now. The Catholics? Shit, R. Kelly should have just became a priest. He would have been good. He would have been under, you understand me, the Vatican. And the Vatican is what the Vatican is. London is Washington. And I think, yeah, these are they have their own representation to where Catholicism, they have their own government structure to where they cannot be prosecuted for anything that they do, because they have the highest rule in the world, because they have a decree in papal bull that says that they own the world. Not my words, but when you study papal bulls, it's also the way that they was able to come and conquer lands. So if they see savages and indigenous people, right, they had to get away from the conquering through force, right? And they started conquering through religion, even though it's semantics a bit because they was doing both the same things. But this is how they were stripping indigenous people of their land, saying that they were savages. And because they didn't believe in their God, that they were bringing God to them and civilizing them and then taking their lands. No, it's savagery, right? But this is what they justified. And to this day, we have papal bulls. It is also the reason why we have, the calendar that we have, because they instated that this was their time. So there's a very interesting history when we kind of look at America. But I love my brothers in Christ, my brothers in faith. I love my Muslim brothers. I love all my brothers. You feel me? But it's like we should have more conversations that's just educating each other. You feel me? And I'm an easy person to communicate with. I'm an easy person to get in touch with. You feel me? If you want to speak to me, then we can. And that's it. But I will say, I just don't understand Catholicism. You feel me? There's 3 major religions in America. Again, it's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. I never see Christians arguing with people from Judaism. They get along. Yeah, we can have that conversation a little later offline on why that happens. But I never see the black church having problems with the Jews, even though the Jews don't believe in Jesus at all. Matter of fact, they have the opposite. They have disdain for Jesus. So I understand it because there's a psychology that goes behind it, right? And that psychology goes into when something is familiar, we have this narcissistic take within ourselves that we fear replacement because we fear something being too similar. And when it's so similar, we feel that it can replace us. It's the same reason why we have so much ingrown hate within our community, right? When somebody's doing what you're doing and they're a little bit, they almost similar to you, you fear them, right? And so somebody else in a whole different lane, you ain't even worried about them, even though they probably don't like neither one of y'all. So y'all start fighting in-house. And that goes into also a very narcissistic, scarce mindset. Me, I don't have a scarce mindset. I study the universe, so I know, man, it ain't nothing but room and opportunity on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing but room and opportunity, man. I believe that God put us here, you know what I mean, with abundance in our minds and in reality. And the only way that you can have lack is that's where you operate from, that place. But I think that anybody that believes in God should believe in abundance because God created plentiful and bountiful. You understand me? Like in real life. And again, this is like the kindest that I'll be in these conversations. You know what I'm talking about? And I think that's just my natural maturity.